Hey everyone, this is the Art Beauty Podcast where we tell the real truth about the fake shit. I am so psyched about today's episode. I have my fabulous co-host. She is the girl boss of Cannabis. She is the Kush queen herself, Olivia Alexander. Thank you so much for being on with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to dish with you today.
I mean, we are going to be, listen, for anybody out there who's ever smoked pot, who's ever thought about smoking pot, who's ever been any of that world, and of course, all of us interested in the CBD aspect, this is the podcast for you. I'm like stoked to do it. But when I was saying that this morning, I was like, God, that sounds like such a bad joke. Olivia, you're in California right now, right?
Yes, I live in Orange County. I actually grew up in LA. I moved to LA when I was 13 from a absolutely nothing town of 700 people in Louisiana. And I got to LA and I said, I'll never not live in LA. LA is where I belong. I was like a first grader who wrote every book report was about me moving to California. Everything was about LA. And then when the licensing changed for cannabis back in 2018, I had to flee LA because the city of LA is very behind on manufacturing licenses and there's a lot of bureaucracy and politics. So they've really slowed the progress there. And I became almost a real housewife of Orange County. I'm like a real fiance Kush queen of Orange County, but I live in the burbs, which is new for me.
Okay.
But as COVID hit, I have a backyard with a pool. And I was like, well, this was probably the best decision I ever made without knowing it.
Right.
So Orange County, we have a facility in Anaheim that's about 7,000 square feet where we make our products. And then we have a 20,000 square foot facility that we work in for the cannabis products because there is a difference.
Tell us a little bit about, for people who are at home, about what your business does. Because, well, actually, I want to take a step back. So you are making products with CBD and THC.
Correct.
But this is you own 100% of your business.
Yes.
And you started out, from what I heard, as a bud tender, which is like what is a bud tender? Like in the dispensary?
So a bud tender is what I would consider an entry-level position. It's the person who's going to sell you your products as you enter a dispensary. Now, this was way, way, way long ago. This was about 12 and a half years ago. And I was 18. I had only tried my first joint probably a few months before. But it was one of those things that the moment I tried it, I knew it was my destiny and I knew that it was changing my life. I am a type A maniac. I am an insomniac. I struggled with sleeping since I was probably in second grade and nothing ever could put me down. I have like an abundance of energy and nothing, it was really either be on sleeping pills my whole life or I'm lucky my parents were supportive of cannabis because as soon as I tried it, my dad was like, hey, where did you get this really good stuff?
No, was it legal at the time there? No, this was.
So what was, we call it gray area medical. So in 1996 in California, we passed something called Proposition 215. Proposition 215 ushered in 20 years of medical cannabis in California, where we had dispensaries. But what people don't understand about that is where you made the product, where you physically grew it, where you physically extracted it, it was iffy about where you did it. There were no licenses. There was not compliance and regulation. It was very open. It was intended to be open, but it really allowed, I think, a lot of bad stuff to go on. There was some great things like being able to sell your product at a festival. I used to have a booth with my mom and my best friends, and people really got to know me in the industry from those events. And then, but basically, my boyfriend's friends were opening up a weed shop.
Right.
And I was 18 and I had never heard of anything so cool.
Right.
And I started working there and it was really, really old school. Like there was just flour, joints, goldfish, weird like homemade edibles, and then something called earwax, which you don't even want to know what that is. It's just a concentrated cannabis, but gross.
Okay.
And every single day I worked there, I was overwhelmed at how many people were not stoners.
Right.
Everyone
Right.
wasn't. It was
Right.
like maybe the 10th guy that walked in was the guy who came in there every day. Everyone else was either they had cancer, soccer moms. There were people like myself who couldn't sleep. There are people with the craziest stories of how it transformed their life or gave them their life back. And also, there was just this incredible connection that I felt to other humans. I felt more myself, and I felt like this was my way to really connect with people.
I do want to say, wait, I want to stop you there. For me, so smoking weed for me, it's not my thing. I know a lot of people though, who I'm like, thank God that this plant is on the earth. I do believe 1,000% that it is one of the, like the world's best, medical plants. And I know that CBD has gotten so much buzz and so much is like, we're hearing about it everywhere now. But, and for people at home, just to remind you, CBD is like, actually, why don't you give us, right? The difference between CBD is
right. So CBD is THC's non-psychoactive cousin. Right. Basically, the plant itself has over 100 molecules that we know of right now, but there are more. Right. It has flavonoids, terpenes, which is the smell. Right. And there's so much that this single plant can give us. Yes. And that's really where we're getting now is you're seeing other molecules, not even just CBD, CBG, CBC. Right.
And all of these works on the cannabinoid system, right? So that's what kind of gives us, for the people at home, CBD is what gives you the relaxation. It's the anti-inflammatory. THC, on the other hand, is the psychoactive that makes you feel stoned. Because I want to get to this, you created this company, right? So we're going to fast forward. You were working here. You end up creating these bath bombs, these other products. But you've gone into cosmetics. And I have to be honest here. Like I'm always honest with my listeners. I feel like CBD is kind of new. Right. There hasn't been, we're kind of still in the Wild West with it. But I do believe that as it gets regulated, there are more and more studies about the effect on the body. Certainly, there's a ton of anecdotal evidence that it works for people. You, though, have taken this. I don't want to focus on the CBD because you've gone a step further and you have created and pioneered the first THC-based beauty product.
Yes.
Wow. So tell us all about this.
So essentially KINGDM Cosmetics by Kush Queen is our THC infused makeup. We started with a primer and basically so I want to go back to what you said. You're exactly right. We have this system inside of our body, the endocannabinoid system. It is interacting with your most important body functions. And we know actual science shows us that we have the receptors in our skin as well. I mean, your skin's your biggest organ. So that's why I'm starting with a primer. I'm starting with the skin because you really need surface area to really absorb it. We have a technology that has patent pending at Kush Queen. It's a nanotechnology. We take the oil, we turn it into water. And when we do that, we shrink the size of the molecule. So a normal oil, like a cannabis oil, if I put THC on my skin, it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. But our technology does. And that's what makes it psychoactive. It actually happened years ago when my fiance was developing a cannabis beer. And I started just rubbing the actual pure liquid water-based THC onto my back. And then he said, let's put it in a shower gel and see if it can get you to sleep without smoking. Because people know joints, people know vapes. I don't want to smoke. I'm trying to look as young as possible. Why would I get Botox and then smoke? It does. There are some negatives with cannabis. I'm not one of those people who sits here and says cannabis is everything, especially when it comes to beauty. Right. But what we do know about these molecules scientifically is a few things that I think the whole beauty industry, yes, they are excited about CBD. And you even see beauty vets now making brands that are using CBD as an ingredient. But I think the one
it's in
thing
Sephora. Yeah.
missing is that we actually know these molecules, these compounds are more powerful than vitamin E and vitamin C.
Right.
And you and I both know as beauty consumers how
Yes.
powerful those are. And
Yes.
we know scientifically that these are more powerful antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, and what they're doing on the skin is fighting free radicals, which we know is what causes aging. So there isn't a lot, but there is a lot. And then
there will be more. There will be more. So I want to say that, but the reason that I pointed that out is because I try to keep honest with everybody here, right? But there are studies. There's studies coming out of Europe that show that it's working on the keratinocytes in your skin, that they're having really promising results. And we do know that CBD, when taken internally, definitely does have this anti-inflammatory effect. We know that on certain body lotions, people swear by it. I know people who swear by the body lotions, that it just makes them feel better. And of course, the tinctures and the gummies. But I'll
be really honest with you.
Yeah.
When I saw Milk Makeup and companies calling hemp seed oil CBD is when I knew I had to make the THC makeup and I had to make CBD makeup. And I was really offended because I just thought that's not CBD even. Yes, you can have hemp CBD, but hemp seed oil is not even CBD. And I thought it was crazy. So I became kind of a lunatic. And I started saying, can we formulate with the nanotech and get people high? Because this is where I think what we're doing is not only unique, but groundbreaking in the sense of the beauty products we buy, they don't really make us feel anything. They can't control our consciousness. What happens when you put on your primer and then you do your face and then you set with your setting spray and then you feel more confident, you feel less social anxiety? What about all of these mothers who are sitting at home right now and who use cannabis daily? Normally after their kids go to school, their kids aren't going to school right now. This is about so many different things for me.
Wow, right. Because you can't be smoking, or people don't want to smoke necessarily in front of their kids.
I'm a CEO. I can't smoke a joint before I go to work right now. Or, I mean, I could, let's be real.
Right, yeah.
But I want to be able to go to work and be clear, but I do need a dose of THC for me in the morning, especially if I'm having a bumpy day. It really does help me. And the other thing is that with this technology, you see a different sort of experience. There's also, you don't smell. You're not feeling. There's so much. And
let's talk about that. So the technology within the primer, first of all, you did the primer because that's the first thing that we're putting on our skin, essentially, when we're doing our makeup. Okay.
Yes.
Do you have it in a body lotion too? The THC?
Yes. We sell all of our products in a ton of different forms. We're known for the bath bomb. We're the #1 CBD bath bomb in the world. And for years, we were the only THC bath bomb on the compliant market. And then basically we have a pain lotion called Mel. It has a host of like 30 different essential oils. I'm a really big believer in combining essential oils with cannabinoids because that's what's called the entourage effect. It all works better together. And we have a lube even.
I went on your site, and part of the reason I'm asking for that, so just so you know, in New York, if you go on your site, you can't see the THC products because New York, get your shit together, New York. Like, this is something that we need to legalize. Everybody should have the option to do this. And products like yours would be phenomenal to have. But I did see the melt and I was like, oh, I'm so sore today. I was like, I need some of that immediately.
Yeah, that product has a cult following. The dispensaries in California, they're like, oh, you really want us to sell a $60 lotion? And I say, well, yeah, we sell a $250 800 milligram bottle all day long.
Yeah.
But it's definitely more of a pharmaceutical product. I mean, that's the most interesting thing about our brand is we inhabit all of these spaces with all of these different products now, but it really was all just driven by, I'm in the industry. I know how to grow. Can extract. I could literally do all of these things by myself before I ever formulated really my first Kush Queen product.
Right.
When I went in and I was a social media influencer, I had 3 million followers that were following cannabis pre-legalization. And then the summer before legalization happened, I was deleted and kicked off Instagram after a lot of nasty back and forth with them over my posting cannabis content.
Right.
And they took away my 2 biggest pages. It was 1.5 million followers. In one day, they were gone forever. And I was sitting there and I felt like I was losing my whole agency, my whole life. You have a certain level of confidence that, you carry when you have built those pages, and everyone in cannabis knew me. It felt like I was publicly like lit on fire and thrown out. And that's when I was lucky. I had already really rebranded Kush Queen, and she'd been on the shelf for about 6 months with a new distributor in the dispensaries in California. And I just said, this is it. This is the time. That's when Bella Cures, a really popular nail chain out here, reached out to me and wanted to start doing the Canacure. Right. And that's when it went viral. That was the first time anyone wrote CBD beauty on the internet. And my whole life sort of changed because I truly started Kush Queen, if I'm being really honest with you, to be a cannabis company.
Yeah.
Or everybody else.
Yeah.
I couldn't have even predicted how 2018 would allow CBD to become this, big explosion. And I really just, because I had my social following, what was left of it, right, and I had experience in e-commerce, I just wanted to give people my product or a version of my product with the CBD products before I could sell everyone THC, to convince everyone. That's why I sold a bath bomb. I'm like, I know how people feel about cannabis. I know. I'm from Louisiana. I was the black sheep in my family. I'm lucky. I've never been arrested, but I know about the failed war on drugs. I know there's so many things. And I just said, I have to make a product that is so approachable, that is also so effective and works the same every single time.
You just hit the nail on the head, though. So I think that's part of the reason I don't like smoking, because you just don't know. But like with something like an edible or something with a measured dose, I find that is so much more attractive, because it's like anything else. You can kind of gauge more or less how you're going to feel off of it. Going back to this THC primer, I mean, this is the first of its kind. You can only get it in California. Correct. You launched this just last year. What has the reaction been like?
So I'm really, really blessed and lucky that everyone in California and all of the dispensaries get it, because it was really easy for me, because Sephora was already selling all of the hemp products in this beauty space. And all I had to do to all of my accounts was say, look, they're taking our customer. They're taking our customer and they're selling our customer hemp CBD beauty products. And I'm giving you your opportunity to bring that customer into this dispensary. I said, it's not going to be easy, because I'm the first person ever to bring in a cosmetic into these cannabis dispensaries and say, we have to innovate. We have to think of the beauty consumer. And so I've sold thousands of units already. It sold out of its first batch immediately. There have been unbelievable hurdles along the way. The lab testing in California is the strictest lab testing in the world. And I'm putting through a cosmetic, which, people throw around words about toxic beauty and clean beauty, but let me see your lab test at a parts per billion level. No one actually is held to the same standard that I'm held at in California. I can only have a 10% margin of error on dosing. So that means if my bottle says 250 milligrams, if I send through 215 milligrams, I fail and my whole batch is gone. So they are also testing for microbials, pesticides. The first time they started trying to test for heavy metals in my product, I literally blew up the lab. It took us 3.5 months just to get the lab to figure out how to make it work with the restrictions in California. And then the other big thing is, so many of the people that hold down these sales positions in dispensaries are women. And they are beauty lovers. They are queens and Kush queens within themselves. And so they have also been the secret weapon that I needed to really get in there. And I'm kind of overwhelmed sometimes, because I know the industry is actually having to be pushed forward by my product. And it's really just a start. We are working on getting the setting spray approved. There's, again, issues setting sprays notoriously separate.
Right.
And in the dosing, that creates a problem because what happens in California with products,
you have to have it measured, right?
We can't test a single product and say this is good, right? I have to make the entire batch. So I have to make thousands of units, and then the lab takes all of them. They anonymously pick, and then they say, this is your lab. And based upon how many units is what they pull. And then from there, it can go to the dispensaries. But it's definitely going to be a unique journey building out the rest of the brand, because I am fully trying to go all the way with the cosmetics as far as I can push it.
Yeah.
But I really have this incredible vision where you wake up and you put on your primer and then you follow it with your foundation. And we just find all of these great places where we can put cannabinoids so we don't have to smoke. So we don't have to add something else in our routine. We're busy already.
Can I ask you though, so with the THC, you have 200, what is it? 200 milligrams per, 250. So how
about 3 to 5 in the pump. I always tell people, if you want to get higher, go down with it on your neck. You can even use this surface area here.
Right, neck and neck.
Because we know that this is really fighting free radicals. That's why I had to start with the primer, because it's like, no, we have to really protect the skin.
Yeah.
And I launched it a year ago at BeautyCon.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that they ever let any CBD company, any cannabis company, anything in BeautyCon. And it was also the first time that I ever launched a product face-to-face with the consumer.
I want to make sure that we're talking about, because there's two different primers. One of them is CBD only, and then one of them is THC. I want to focus on that THC, man, because honestly, CBD beauty, we've talked about it on this podcast, but THC is so incredible. So you're putting this on, what is that high like? And how do you make sure, like, if I was to, let's say, not me, but if somebody was to put on an entire body, like, are you going to get really high? How does that work?
I describe it like this. You got 3 to 5 milligrams. You're spreading it all over your face. Within 30 seconds to 3 minutes, you're going to start to feel it behind the eyes. It has some strange effect that starts there. So your cannabis, and THC specifically, is a vasodilator, which means it's bringing blood flow to the area. That's why when you smoke a joint, your eyes actually get red. It's also why the lube works, because it brings the blood flow to the area and it makes the circulation. So that's where you start to feel it. I explain it like it is a light puff on a joint. So the products are intended to be used multiple at a time. So you're not going to bent back. I mean, the reality is, though, with cannabis and THC specifically, it really is all about your tolerance. So if you are an amateur, you might want to only use a half a pump. I always recommend, with whether it's a joint, whether it is a beauty product with THC, you are going to start low and go slow.
Sure.
And that is what I live by. For me, when I use a full face and I'm feeling at about a level of a 6 to 7 for about 3 hours, I have a pretty.
I was going to ask how long. So how long does it last? Let's say you're doing this, you put on your primer in the morning. How long are you going to be feeling the psychoactive effects?
You're going to be feeling it for about 2 to 3 hours. Some people have reported up to 4. Those are going to be really entry level people with very little tolerances or very high sensitivity to THC. The reality is every endocannabinoid system, yours, mine, it is all different. That is what is interesting about pursuing THC cosmetics, is that every single person's endocannabinoid system is like a footprint. It is, or a fingerprint, not a footprint.
Yeah.
It's unique. And so that does create challenges, but that's why I have an MIT, chief science officer who's helping me develop ways for it to be repeatable. So that's where the dose lands. I personally also, because I like to use THC in a more microdosed way, because I'm really trying to function here. I'm not trying to be, really, really high. If I was, I definitely wouldn't apply a primer to my face. I would go and smoke a joint or have an edible.
Right.
So I was also thinking about like a woman or a man who's about to go on a hot date. You know, you might have a little nerves, or you might have a big
Or
job
like,
interview.
yeah.
What
What about like all the celebrities, like before you're going on the red carpet? I wonder if it will be huge with them. Wait, before we get off this though, like speaking of the effect of it, like, will you get the munchies?
No.
No. So there's none of that.
No munchies.
Got
You
it.
know, the good thing about where we are now with THC and cannabis science is we know about specific strains that are really going to cause that appetite increase. And
Okay.
we also at Kush Queen are experimenting with THCV, which is the skinny girl cannabis molecule. It suppresses your appetite so hard that you could have like intense hunger and you can drop the tincture and it goes away. I'm sure my team's going to kill me for even talking about it, but I don't care, because that's what we're about here.
Yeah.
Let's pursue
Yeah.
science. I always say, you know, it's like innovation is our heart and social responsibility is our soapbox that we stand on at
Right.
Cushing. And I love what I do and I love where I come from, but the industry itself, it doesn't focus on innovation. It doesn't push itself. I mean, we have hand over fist people who come in, raise $10 million to sell a pre-roll. And
Right.
for me, what literally drives my heart and soul is thinking about ways people are going to consume cannabis in the future.
So
And
do you think, like, so on that though, because right now, where can you can only buy this THC in California,
yes.
the THC
So
photo primer?
yes. I mean, there is a certain amount of THC that we can place into the hemp products to make them
Right.
more effective. And we do at Kush Queen. That's what we refer to as full spectrum. So our products are not, you know, zero THC. Some of them are, some aren't. It's really important when you shop at Kush Queen, you check that, or any, you know, CBD products.
Totally.
We are in talks to expand the like accessibility of the THC cosmetics in 2021. You know, that the issue with that is a few things. At the state lines, there are new rules.
Yeah.
And we just can't make the product here and ship it there.
Yep.
So we definitely have some, you know, issues as far as barrier to entry and things like that. But I'm here for a long time, not a good time. I
Totally.
I'm not a VC, you know, I'm here to be running Kush Queen the day that cannabis is legal nationwide.
And I think on that, you know, just to give yourself like a little pat in the back, it's even more impressive because you are investing all of this time and energy into a product that you unveiled last year. It won an award already. It's already an award-winning product for innovation. The THC version of this that I'm talking about, this primer, knowing full well that your market is extremely limited, but I think you seem like a smart cookie and you know that the times be a changing and, you know,
Well,
you're going to be.
I know on average, I believe Ulta orders from a few brands anywhere between 6 to 10,000 units, and we're easily going to move that through the dispensaries. I think that people underestimate how much, you know, revenue can really be generated through limited retailers. Because in California specifically, I mean, our population is ginormous, and SoCal specifically is the biggest consumer of cannabis in the world right now.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, I mean, California's population is bigger than the entire country of Canada. So kind of what goes here goes everywhere else. And I feel like we really, we did reinvest our profits into this. There was a period where I thought my whole team was going to kill me. But when you believe in something so much and when you make it for yourself, I mean, I feel like it's a moment for my life to say, I made THC makeup. I made makeup high. And no, it's not for everyone. What we do isn't for everyone. But I think from the way you've seen almost every major cosmetic company put a pot leaf on something, and you've seen all of these major influencers come out. I mean, Chloe Morello is a beauty influencer who has just given us so much support for nothing. She is on our subscription. She shares our products all the time. I mean, we've had so many of those people, Lady Gaga, Olivia Wilde, Zach Braff, like Chloe Grace Moretz, when she was like barely 21, was posting about the melt lotion because she had knee pain, and I would go and drop her products off at her house. And there's just been so many people who just believed in what we do. And I think that's what's going to happen with the THC makeup. And I've had a lot of naysayers, I've had a lot of people, a lot of men who don't understand cosmetics. And then at the same time, I've had people who really get it. We're nominated for a Beauty Independent Beacon Award for the THC Primer specifically this week. And I do really hope we win it.
Girl, I think you're going to win it. And by the way, when people put you down and all those naysayers, you just laugh your way all the way to the bank, because you're now running, what is it? Can I say this? It's a multi-million-dollar company.
Correct? Yeah, for Girl, actually.
You own 100%.
Yeah.
So you know what you would tell people when they say that? I would tell them, you know what? Maybe you should try some of my product.
I also heard it, early on when I was selling the bath bomb. It really got me ready and got a really thick skin, because I got laughed out of the dispensaries at first. And even my distributor, people would say, really, bath bombs? And he would say, yeah, we sell more bath bombs and beauty products than we do edibles sometimes. And it's amazing. Really, I think it's just about people who don't know, and people judge, and it's easy for them to write you off. But I have had a few people who even told me, with the name Kush Queen, I would never have a mainstream brand. And
I love that name.
I'm like,
you know what? It's like instantly identifiable. I know what it is. It feels regal. It feels royal. I love your line. Kingdom is the cosmetics, right? The branch. If people want to know, I feel like I could talk to you forever, by the way. We do have to go because our time is kind of running out. But if people want to find you, what's the best way to do so?
They can visit us at www.kushqueen.shop, and they can order all of those products online. And then if they're in California and want to check out the THC, they can visit us at over 250 dispensaries statewide, which they can find on our cannabis website, kushqueencannabis.com.
You've also just recently done a collaboration with Alice and Olivia, which is super exciting. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Stacy at Alice and Olivia, she loves CBD, and she felt like Kush Queen was the perfect brand. We share same colorful worlds driven by women. And when she wanted a CBD product, she said there was no one other than Kush Queen. So we created a bath bomb, a bubble bath, and a lotion. They're incredible. Stacy is very sensitive to scent, so they're very subtle, but the products are incredible. They're available in all the Alice and Olivia stores and online at Kush Queen Shop. And we've really just had an incredible time. I got to go to New York Fashion Week.
Right.
And really just see a whole different
She has
world.
the best shows, by the way.
I honestly had the best time, and they dressed me, and it was really, we also had a good time at an in-store event. All of the executives were there, and they were like, normally, we don't stay, but we're feeling so good. And they were like, are these CBD cocktails spiked? Do you think they're spiked? And I was like, no, they're not spiked. But I called and I said, hey, you guys, I just want to make sure you didn't send the THC to New York. And they were like, no, it's just full spectrum though. So they're feeling a micro dose. But it was really funny because we definitely have had such a good time with their team. And it's really just so important that fashion brands and other mainstream brands step into the space.
Absolutely. I mean, and luxury brands and celebrities. You have like a huge celebrity following. And I have to say, with
we've
the
never
CBD,
paid a celebrity. That's
which is incredible.
Lady Gaga, Olivia Wilde.
What is Lady Gaga using?
The bath bomb. So all those viral baths that Lady Gaga posted when she does Enigma, we literally ship tons of bath bombs to her in Vegas, and she has a bath ritual for her shows, an ice bath and then a hot bath. And when she does her hot baths, there's Kush Queen bath bomb. She loves the relax, the blue water's relax, and the clear water is the actually I think it's the Alice and Olivia, because she likes the high dose. With the inflammation and her chronic pain, it's a CBD. She loves. It's
huge.
CBD.
I'm telling you, I've taken CBD before, and I definitely, it chills you out. And then I feel like when you notice it more is when you stop taking it. So I was taking a tincture, and it was like, okay, it definitely had the calming, and then I did an entire bottle, and then afterwards I was like, oh my goodness, now my body hurts again and feels
It's interesting because there's no high, but there is an effect.
But it's not a high. It's a calming. It's an actual like.
It's really when that molecule is touching the endocannabinoid system, when it's touching the receptor, and that's when it's really working, and that's why I take CBD every day. And I tell people, unfortunately, I get a lot of people who reach out to me when they have like very ill family members.
Yeah.
And like, it's not about taking this when you're sick. It's about taking it when you're well, so you can extend your wellness. And I really think, the core of disease is inflammation, and we know it's inflammatory.
And aging.
Duh, it all makes sense. It's really one of those things I can't personally live without.
Very close to me, there are people who I've seen marijuana has changed their life for the better, really, really transformed them. And so I am a huge believer in that. I love that you're giving people the option to also not have to smoke it and not have to necessarily do an edible, which might be too much, or like, it's hard to judge dosing, although I guess now in California, it's not really.
Yes and no, but I think that at the end of the day, it's about new delivery methods. It's about giving people options to put these molecules in their daily lifestyle without having to consume or combust. Especially in beauty, we're just so much more conscious about aging as well. And with COVID, everyone's worried about their lungs and worried about inhaling things. So yeah. I think there's a lot there. And I really just believe in the efficacy of the molecule in ways that aren't smoking. So I'm just really grateful to you for letting me come on here and chat with you about THC. Because at the end of the day, there are so many, we'll talk about CBD. We're not talking about THC.
No, and no offense. I was like, I've talked about CBD. CBD's everywhere, but THC, especially here, is something that I think is so incredible and so innovative. And I'm really excited to see where your product ends up and when it comes here, because New York, we need that tax revenue, Governor Cuomo. Yeah. So get your shit together and let's make this happen.
I'm really hoping that we're going to see the next 5 to 10 years be just incredible progress when it comes to opening up access. I think, like you said, COVID and the economy and the state it's in is just so dire. And what we have in California is an essential industry. And I hope that states see that. But, honestly, I'm one of those people who I love this industry and I love what I do, but I also love my country and I love seeing the laws change and seeing new things happen. And I'll tell anyone, if for some reason we don't have legal cannabis in the next 5 years, I'm going to carry myself to Washington and I'm going to legalize it myself because it's time.
It's time. It really is. Come on, guys. We all need to chill.
I hope it doesn't come to that. I really hope it doesn't come to me having to go walk down there, stomp my feet, get people going. But there is so much with this plant, even THC, even your experience, having a bad experience. I think the more you open up access, the more we push this thing forward, the more we can actually have real conversations. And that's also what it's about. I really believe in progress. And I really also just believe in the plant. I'm 32 and I feel 22. And I do think there's so much anti-aging, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory power within the plant.
We need to support. I definitely support this. I want to thank you so much for being on. I'm so excited to see what you have in store, to see what has next. Of course, if anybody wants us to send any questions over to Olivia, we're happy to do so. You can email us at hello@ArtBeautyPodcast. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Art Beauty Podcast. And as always, we will see you next Tuesday.